Konnichiwa. What I'd like to do today is just give you a little video on how the gardens are looking at the moment, and we are now in the middle of August, so the gardens are just beginning to get ready for their second flush. So there are quite a few flowers that have finished flowering, but let's go and have a look. Now we're into the garden centre and we've got some of the plants that are for sale at the moment. This is a lovely rose called Joie de Vie. It's called Joy of Life, and look at that. All the buds waiting to come out and flower. This rose here, which is called the Oxford Physic Rose, and that's beautiful. It has 2 good flushes a year and it's so healthy, and look at it in pots at the moment. And don't forget, this is mid-August, not ideal for roses. So we've still got several roses for sale though. Ivor's rose there. Now going into the garden, we've got this rose over the top here, which is Mini Ha-Ha, in full summer. So we're looking at the end of June. That was full of beautiful pink flowers. We're now coming into the gardens, and to enter the gardens from the container beds, we have one of my favourite roses called Apple Blossom. It's a rambler that flowers right from the base all the way up to the top there. In the height of June, it's absolutely stunning. As you look left and right now, there's one of our pergolas and walks. Again, you can see, because it's August, a lot of the flowers are over. We've got some up here which are giving it the second flush, and that's another beautiful rose called City of York. And these have hips at the back, so these don't want to be dead-headed once they've finished, because they have lovely little cherry-like hips. And this is Kifskate superior. This is another lovely rose. This is Rosa Helenae, but in autumn, August, September time, the hips turn nice and orange. So that's as good interest as anything else. This is a very good selection of roses here. This is called the flower carpet range. So we do pink flower carpet, red velvet, white flower carpet, and scarlet flower carpet. All these are wonderful roses because they flower later. When a lot of the other roses have finished flowering for their first time, they start coming into their own at the end of June. So they go on from the end of June right the way till in November. Rural England. This is a lovely repeat flowering rambler growing on an obelisk, and again this is its second flush, and if you look at the green stems up there, there's more buds to come later on in September. We'll walk over the bridge, but before I walk over the bridge, just have a look at the view and the vista going through the pergola. So as we come from the pond area, we're now coming into another part of the garden, and here's a couple of good varieties. This is Rambling Rosie. It's a lovely rambler that is more or less continuous flowering. And over the arch there, again, we have a lovely rose called Open Arms. And that's a good repeat flowering as well. As we're walking through the pergola here, I'd just like to point out that when you're choosing roses, choose climbers and ramblers. Ramblers will give you the effect of a wow factor. Climbers will give you the repeat. So as you can see, a lot of things are have gone over, but we have still got a nice bit of colour here on the pergola.
Over here.
Called New Dawn, and
really every garden should have one. It's a lovely visual as well, the lovely soft tissue pink.
it is, isn't it? It's beautiful. So you can expect the second flush in
around September, October time. And
which is wonderful.
Sorry, and as you can see, it's great on a pillar.
Yeah.
It also can be used on a wally position.
And it can cope with shade?
It'll cope with plenty of shade as well. As long as
Yeah.
it can get 3 hours sunshine a day,
Okay.
it'll be happy.
Oh, so in most gardens then, this would be,
This would, coming through into another part of the garden here, we've got Vaughan the head gardener who's looking after the gardens here and deadheading. A very important job this time of year to keep deadheading any roses that have been finished flowering to give you the next flush of roses. Lovely rose here. This will flower until November, December time. This is called the Fairy, and as you can see, it's grown on a half standard there. A wonderful rose. Going back to the flower carpet range, look at that. That's the scarlet flower carpet. Again, really good this time of year in August when it's difficult for roses. Again here, on my left here, that's white flower carpet. Again, part of the flower carpet range which I've showed you earlier. It looks so good in the garden, and that's why we've got it in various different places to give us good colour during August. Earlier I showed you the Oxford Physic rose in the container area, but look at it here in the gardens. Look at all the buds waiting to burst open. Look at the beautiful soft old-fashioned pink rose. I'm sure in Japan that would work very well as a good shrub rose. And when it's finished flowering, as the flowers finish, you just break the flowers off, and then when the whole cluster has finished, I can't see it, here we go, there's one which go down deeper into the plant like that. Here we are in the garden in the species section, and this is one of my favourite sections because they flower so early, and then as you can see, this one is Rosa Moyesi geranium. They have these beautiful long flagon shaped hips, and they turn even brighter around September. They're sort of orangey red, they're absolutely beautiful. Moving a little bit further on here, we've got Rosa rugosa, and that also has hips there, and you know, the bright red hips. The varieties, this is Rosa pimpinifolia. They have black hips, and they're very interesting. Another nice variety has a lovely soft pink flower, Rosa cephalta. Look at those bright orange hips. If that was in a border on its own, it would just be like a holly tree. Absolutely amazing. Then we've got Rosa virginiana. Not only is this well known for its lovely orange hips, which will come in 2 or 3 weeks' time, it also has lovely autumnal foliage. And look at the added bonus now, these days, some of the species are beginning to flower for a second time. Absolutely wonderful. And then also here we've got Rosa californica plena. Look at those lovely orangey green hips there. Again, turn more red and orange later on. But all these roses will be quite happily grown in woodlands and in very, very poor soils. They make a lovely statement. We're now heading to Peter's, what we call Peter's Memorial Garden, where we've got a bench for him. And some of these roses here are his favourite roses. And a lot of them were only once flowering. You know, things like Charles de Mills, Tuscany Superb, Great Maiden's Blush. But Peter was a great believer that roses were out in June, and that was it. Like chrysanthemums are out in September, dahlias are out in August, September, a rose for out in the height of the season. We want more from our plants these days, so therefore we are trying to breed more roses that are repeat or continuous flowering. One of Peter's favourite roses, Archduke Joseph. It's an old tea rose, good repeat flowering and a lovely fragrance. Doesn't look much here now. Charles de Mills. In the height of the season, that's just full of purple flowers. This is a hedge of Rosa virginiana, and you can see when that turns autumnal, the foliage is just so beautiful, and with the hips there as well. Another one of my favourite shrub roses is Rosalita. This is always in flower. Lovely single white flowers with the sort of apricot bud. Very bee friendly and very, very healthy. So there, I've just given you a little insight on how the gardens look at the moment here in mid-August. But later on, you'll be seeing 1 or 2 other videos or clips that we've taken during the summer of myself or somebody else in the gardens looking at the roses.